Hello, job seekers. Melanie here with CGL Recruiting, and I'm very excited for our video today, which is going to be focusing on pivoting. I have a special guest for you today, and that is Jordan Craig, who I will introduce you to in a moment. But I want to talk with you first about where our focus is going to be. As a lot of the different industries with this global pandemic have turned down, we've talked a lot about pivoting within your industry to make sure that you're still able to move forward. And so one of the industries that we've definitely seen a big decline in is, in addition to oil field and aviation and travel, is the arts and entertainment industry. And that is where Jordan Craig comes in as a subject matter expert and has done an amazing pivot with some of his fellow professionals in the field. And I'm so excited to talk to you about what he's seeing in the arts and entertainment industry and the amazing pivot that he did and how he's approached it. So Jordan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, joining us all the way from New York to talk with us about what we're seeing in the arts and entertainment industry. But I'd love first for you to give us some information, because you have had the most amazing career. You most recently were actually in Phantom of the Opera as Raoul, and that was a pretty long run. So why don't you give us a little bit of information on your background in the arts and entertainment world?
Well, as you know, I started acting when I was a pretty young kid. We've known each other for a while, and I just, I've known it was something I wanted to do ever since I was a kid, and I wasn't one of those people that sort of had, oh, I want to be this, I want to be this, I want to be this, like a lot of people switch what they want to be. I always knew ever since I was, very young, this is what I want to do. I want to be in arts and entertainment. I want to be an actor. And so I pursued that to the highest levels. I just finished playing Raoul, Vicomte de Chagny in the Broadway tour of the Phantom of the Opera, traveling all over the North American continent, performed it for millions and millions of people. And it was a dream come true. Along the way, I performed all over the country and the world, and so I've had a well-traveled and busy career up into this point. Unfortunately, with the coronavirus pandemic, things are starting to shift, and I don't think forever, but it's interesting how when the constraints are tightened, it generates this sort of creativity and the spirit that's sort of like, okay, like what? Okay, so like, all right, I thrive when like the constraints are put on me. You go into rehearsal, you have your character, you have, these are the parameters with which you can make choices, and that you thrive. I thrive in that environment as an artist because the director sort of gives you like constraints. Well, like, the grand director has been like, there's a pandemic that's shutting down your life. Now what are you going to do? Well, it's like, that's what's led me here is to my next thing, which which we'll be talking about. So it's been tough.
You even had you were going to be playing, I think, Lieutenant Cable in a South Pacific event, and did that all get canceled as well?
Yeah, well, that was postponed a year. I had another show that was actually canceled this summer. So it's been tough. And it was after the second show, my second show got canceled, that I said, I gotta figure something else out. And it's I like living in New York. Like, I'm from Texas, but Texas will always be my home. But New York is my second home, and so I actually saw the impetus for my next step, my evolution, was that I saw a piece by NBC talking about Broadway actors that were forced to leave. I mean, forced to leave the most amazing rent-controlled property in New York. I mean, like, people would assassinate their family members to like live in a place like this. And these people are leaving and moving back to Ohio, moving back to other places. And actually, two of my closest friends in the business were interviewed in this piece, and I saw it. and it broke my heart. And I thought, I'm not going to let this be me. Like, I'm not gonna be forced out of this place where I live.
I think a lot of people are very in touch with the effect in the arts and entertainment industry,
Hmm.
locally, or, oh, their next TV shows aren't coming out, but they
Yeah.
don't realize such a huge amount of actors and set designers and lighting people and orchestra have been affected by this, with
Yeah.
all of live theater pretty much being canceled. And
Yeah.
last I had heard, Broadway's not opening till 2021. Is that what you're hearing
Hmm.
as well?
It's what I'm hearing. There are, I know regional productions across the country have begun canceling things in 2021. So, I have a friend who had gigs all the way through March of next year that have been canceled. And, one of my closest friends, I mean, this isn't nobody. I mean, this guy played, he was in Phantom, he was the resident director of Phantom, but he was also in Les Miserables on Broadway. I mean, the dude he's a heavy hitter, and he and his wife packed up and moved to West Palm Beach, Florida. They're like, we're out of here. We're going down. It's like these people who are established are getting out. And so yeah, I've seen a couple projects that are tentatively starting to come back in 2021. But it's no full-scale productions, I don't think yet. I mean, there are plans to reopen Broadway and the productions that are, that have residencies, but that remains to be seen. I mean, they have tentative openings. They say January 2021, but let's be real, who knows? I've heard of one new project that's doing like a full-on, reading. It's like a workshop kind of thing that's happening, and but it's still sluggish. Yeah, yeah.
So when we're talking with job seekers a lot about pivoting into something new, we
Hmm.
generally tell them that you should be looking at something that's adjacent to what you currently do, right? There's
That's
a
right.
difference between doing a pivot and doing a complete career change, where you're having to go
Right.
back and do education over
Right.
and starting from scratch. And so I'd
Right.
love to have you share with us what your pivot is and how
Hmm.
you did a great job pivoting, not just with yourself, but bringing an incredible group of experts. So
Yeah.
tell us about what your pivot is and what your plans are going forward.
Right. Well, I think that's such a great point that you mentioned. It's like I wanted to use the skills that I have already and my passions, sort of bring that to a new area. One of the things that I started thinking about it actually as I was traveling the continent doing Phantom of the Operas. I met all of these students. I met people studying performing arts. I met, you know, technical artists, opera singers, film actors, all these people, and they wait at the stage door for you and they flood you with questions. From all over the place. They're asking you, how do I get in the door? How do I get in? And how do I get seen? And how do I get noticed? And how do I market myself? And how do I all of these questions? And it got me thinking, like, wouldn't why is there no, you know, why is there nothing that's geared towards helping these people? It's like it's and so in my experience, the business is all about relationships, and it is about talent, don't get me wrong, but who you're nice to along the way can really impact you later on down the road. So I created a website called The Door. It's called the Door Masterclass Network, and what we do is we offer educational opportunities for students in high school and college, people that are ready to make that transition to the next part of their career. Maybe they're ready to go pro, maybe they're studying for their college auditions. But it's not just the masterclass opportunities. We bring in what I want to do, what I wanted to do, and the most my benchmark for success in this project is to introduce students to people who can change their life. I'm not introducing them to Broadway stars. I'm not introducing them to people, who are Instagram influencers trying to get the likes. It's not about that. These are people that I brought in who are Grammy award winning, Tony nominated people who have been in the industry for a long time and who have the standing in this industry. People know them. People who need to know who these people are. These are heavy hitters. In our fall intensive, we're launching October 5th. I'm very excited. 6-week intensive. It's our first sort of attempt at creating a long master class, a long intensive program. We have a Grammy award-winning opera singer, and we have the Broadway music director of Les Miserables and of Cole Porter's Anything Goes, the revivals of both of those, one of, Tony nominated, Tony winning actually, for Anything Goes. And so we also have the choreographer for the Met. I mean, these are like incredible people that are not just, they are heavy hitters. And I got together with them and I said, not only that too, but it's like big time New York agents that I've also gotten in touch with. I've said, like, look, these people, they can meet the artists, but it's you guys that set up the audition. So I need people to, I want my students to be able to get in touch with you because you're the people that can ultimately give them a shot, And so I've got, in our masterclass, we're going to have showcases with agents. We're going to have introductions with casting directors and all of the people that can fundamentally change the trajectory of your career.
And I think what you've done so brilliantly with this is you really are looking holistically, right? Because there's lots of offers out there for, acting lessons or dance lessons and different things like that. But you're not a and so your pivot is really looking at like a, true corporation, looking at it holistically to give people that better chance. So, in doing that and in making this pivot, what has been some of the challenges for you? It is your passion, I know, to be that, entertainment actor, but what were some of the challenges as you try to make a pivot from one to another?
I mean, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I'm an actor. Okay. So let's be real. What am I really good at? Bartending. Okay. So, let's see. What were my challenges? Learning, I don't know, payroll, bookkeeping, marketing, management skills, how to deal with, employees that have disagreements, like just stuff that, as an actor, you don't really have to. I never even imagined having, to deal with a world like that. And now I'm sort of diving, into entrepreneurship, and it's exciting. It's fun. Actually, it's really fun. But it's certainly, I was like, I have trouble balancing my own checkbook. Thank God my wife is here around because like I don't even understand that world. But now it's like we have to, I have to be sort of aware of all these things. And so, it's, I mean, in some ways I'm taking my passions and pivoting, but then it's still like walking on Mars. I mean, there are whole aspects of this that are fully unfamiliar, but that's part of the challenge, and that's part of, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it to learn. And again, it's interesting. I talked earlier about, when the constraints are put on, it's forcing you to it's sort of generating this creativity, and it's these are skill, and a lot of people are doing this. I mean, I know you're talking to a lot of people who have made these decisions to pivot in their lives because of this. And what's interesting about this pandemic is that it's forcing people to learn skills that are going to benefit them long term. And I think for my generation in particular, I feel like we were pampered for a long time. And, I feel like we were. I mean, we had it pretty good. And now, like all of a sudden, like something major like this hits and we're like, what? Like, this is crazy. So like all of us are like trying to figure out like what to do. But I think this is like I don't know. This is the event that's going to shape the millennial generation. I think whip us into shape a little bit.
It might very well, it might ignite though that entrepreneurial spirit in them because
I think so.
Yeah, it's something that they maybe didn't do before, but they can do now. But one of the things I do want to make a point for all of our job seekers is when we're talking about a pivot, it doesn't mean that if you have a passion for your job and you love it, you don't have to give that up to do a pivot during this time frame. And I know that's true for you, Jordan. I mean, you're not going to give up your primary passion, but now once everything opens back up and you do have that, you're going to have a pretty strong side hustle too. That's going to work in tandem with your passion. And that's just a brilliant, future looking long term for what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. It's like I worked, I've done everything. As an actor, we do everything. We work in the service industry. I've worked in a million restaurants. I've worked in gyms. I've worked, standard stuff. And when you know, when this pandemic hit, I told myself, I told my wife, it's like I'm gonna figure out, I'm not gonna go back to that. I'm gonna figure out a way. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And it's some extraordinarily rewarding work. But for me, it was like I was always artistically unsatisfied doing those things because it felt like I was trying to survive. This feels like I already know how to do half of it. You know what I mean? Like, and half of it is super fun. It's doing what I love. It's encouraging others in the performing arts, and so the other half is easy to learn because I already have this part of it that I know so well.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, do you have any advice for anybody who is, kind of teetering, saying, should I pivot into something else? Do I go for it? And is kind of not sure. What advice would you give them as they're trying to do something similar to what you've done successfully?
You know, I I had this thought at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was if if this time ends and I haven't bettered myself in some way, it's wasted. And that was not, that may not be for everybody, but that's how I felt. I said, look, this is it's a very troubling time, but there's an opportunity here for growth. And if I come out of it without having grown in some way, then what has it been for? What have I used it for? I feel like, turn it into a gift. Don't let it be an anvil around your neck. Like, turn it into something, that will help your life. And if you strike out, so what? Like, I don't even know. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know. But I do know that I'm learning so many skills along the way that everything I'm learning here, even if this thing burns down, okay, even if it crashes, it's a website, so the chances of that are slim. But if it- you know if it does ultimately fail, it's not really a failure because I've learned so much along the way. I'll be able to pivot to something else, and I still won't have to go back to what I call those survival jobs that I worked in for so many years, because I'll have these other skills. And so it's a win. It's a pure win, no matter what the end result is. Um, Learning something is always going to benefit you.
Jordan, for those that are in the business world where they're really worried about this time during COVID of how
Hmm.
they put this all on their resume, and the
Hmm.
advice that we're always giving them is you need to show that you're still making progress, both in your industry and in your profession or your craft. And
Hmm.
a pivot like this is a amazing way to show, even if you are so busy going forward that somebody else has to take over, the management of what you're creating, you have this time where you've shown that you've bettered yourself in your craft and in your industry and done it with
Hmm.
such an amazing team together, supporting and working with you. So,
Yeah.
great job, Jordan. That's why we're
Thank
doing this
you.
interview with you today, because what an amazing pivot. So, for any
Thank
of you
you.
that may have more, questions for Jordan, of course, you can always put questions down in comments in the video below. Please
Sure.
consider subscribing. If you feel like this data is helpful, give us that thumbs up. But Jordan, how else can they connect with you? I will put some things in the description, but in
Sure.
regards to your organization and such.
Sure. Well, our website is called thedoormasterclass.com. You can go there and check out all of the amazing intensives and one-on-one coaching that we offer. And then that's at thedoormasterclass.com. And then you can check me out at Hey, it's Jordan Craig on Instagram, and the Door Masterclass on Instagram. We have our own Instagram for the company. Wow, we are advanced. But so far, and we'll have our YouTube channel up soon. But yeah, that's how you can reach us now. Melanie, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
It's My pleasure. All right, job seekers, I will see you next time. And until then, that right job is out there for you, or perhaps the best pivot. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.